Thank you, Mr Acting Speaker. I rise in this chamber on behalf of the thousands of New South Wales residents who signed petitions opposing the plan to convert Carnarvon Golf Course into a cemetery. They've done so because they believe the process has been unfair, opaque and disconnected from the local community. Let me be clear, I found out about this proposal through the media. There was no prior consultation with me as the local member, no contact with the federal member Jason Clare, no briefing for Mayor Ola Hamid, and no engagement with our community. That silence speaks volumes. We weren't asked about options or alternatives because clearly we weren't meant to be. Aside from a few selected religious leaders, no one else was consulted. No local stakeholders, no transparency, no public criteria. Despite claims that over 1,000 sites were considered, no list has been made public. Even an order for papers from the upper house produced nothing. Why? I won't rehash the issue of how actual cemetery sites were excluded from the government's figures. It has been well canvassed in this house. But let's go to the facts. The Metropolitan Memorial Park claims Carnarvon adjoins Rookwood Cemetery. That's simply false. Strathfield Golf Course, a private golf course, borders Rookwood, not Carnarvon. Carnarvon is separated from Rookwood by Botanica Housing Estate, Joseph Street, and a significant stretch of urban development. Calling it next door is misleading. Meanwhile, just across from East Street, which does border Rookwood, lies 17 hectares of unused Crown land, the former University of Sydney Health Campus. It's been vacant for the 6 years I've been the local MP. It's on the same kind of 21-year lease as Carnarvon, and it's directly opposite Rookwood. Yet we received no explanations as to why this wasn't considered, no logic and no transparency. We're also told any new cemetery must be within a 30-minute drive for religious reasons. Let's be real. Sydney's average commute is nearly an hour, the highest in Australia. In Western Sydney, many travel 2 hours each way for work. The idea that 30 minutes is too far to travel for burial just doesn't add up. This isn't about religious access, it's about a short-sighted, poorly thought out decision that ignores the whole community. Carnarvon isn't just open space, it's one of the few green lungs in our area. It hosts weddings, birthdays, graduations, it offers tree canopies, wildlife habitat and stormwater retention. It's public Crown land held in trust for the people, not reserved for quiet backroom deals. The New South Wales Government's own website says Crown land is vital for community life, open space and urban green space. That's exactly what Carnarvon provides. Replacing it with a cemetery is bad planning. Taking a living, heavily used recreational space and handing it over to the dead is not only disrespectful, it's a slap in the face to the community that uses and values it every day. People bought homes near Carnarvon to raise families, not to live beside a cemetery. For many in our multicultural communities, living amongst the dead is culturally unacceptable. Some residents will be forced to sell, many will see the value of their homes drop, all will lose something meaningful. Let's be honest, this would never be proposed in Callan Park, it wouldn't happen at Malabar Headland, it wouldn't happen in Cronulla State Park, but in Western Sydney we're fair game. That's what really hurts. People remember the COVID lockdowns when most of Sydney could move freely, but Western Sydney was under strict restrictions. The same message is back, that this government thinks Western Sydney will just comply, that we don't deserve consultation, transparency or respect. This isn't just about a golf course, it's about how Western Sydney is treated. It's about whether our communities have a say in what happens to our public land held in our name. This process has been flawed from the start. There was no bilingual material in a highly diverse area. The only initial community survey was online, despite this being a region with significant social disadvantage and digital access challenges. The government must start over. It must release the full list of sites it considered as the upper house ordered it to do. It must explain why 17 hectares of unused Crown land across from Rookwood wasn't chosen. And most importantly, it must sit down with the people of Western Sydney, not talk over us. It's time this government gave Western Sydney the same respect it gives to the East. Our communities deserve to be heard and we won't stop fighting until we are.
I thank the member. I do appreciate the support from the gallery, but it's disorderly for you to clap and applaud. So next time, I'm sorry. I just have to keep the rules. All right, I do call the member for Cootamundra. The question is that the House take note of the petition.
Well, good afternoon, and to those in the gallery this afternoon. And I'd like to start by saying that I'm representing the opposition here this afternoon as the Shadow Minister for Crown Lands. And I rise to contribute on this debate, an important debate concerning Carnarvon Golf Course and Coleman Park. I'd like to begin by congratulating the members of your community who have signed this petition, and that it's been brought here by the member for Auburn, and well done. It is not easy to get 10,000 signatures on a petition. It takes a lot of hard work, a lot of effort. I know something about that. And what it does show, beyond any doubt, that the community stands united against the New South Wales Government's proposition to transform two vital community spaces into burial grounds. I'd like to acknowledge the club's president, Peter Richardson, director Catherine Tucker, and general manager Adam McGregor, and the residents that I had the opportunity to meet with just a couple of weeks ago at Carnarvon Golf Course. And we had the opportunity to really go through things from your perspective, spending well over an hour together, so that I could really understand what you were going through and your views. So I've taken away from that meeting, and also following the issue as it's unfolded, to say that the way that we address the challenge of cemeteries and burial space into the future, it's a challenge, but it is part of the legacy that we leave behind for future generations. And there's a right way to go about this. And it seems to me that the way that the government has gone about it on this particular occasion is not the right way. From the outset, there's been a stark lack of genuine consultation. The member for Auburn has outlined that, with thousands of residents directly affected by this proposal. Despite repeated calls for transparency, the Metropolitan Memorial Parks proceeded with a limited consultation between 19 October and August and 19 October this year, without proper engagement or respect for community sentiment. Once again, no matter the portfolio, this government has missed the mark on consultation. The people of Auburn deserve better than a checkbox exercise. They deserve to be heard, because these lands represent the loss of community identity and well-being. The social and human impacts are significant. The Carnarvon Golf Course alone provides an estimated $2.8 million in annual social value to the local area. But that figure only tells part of the story. The club is a true hub, a community hub for weddings, christenings, and other celebrations. It's where generations come together to connect and spend time. It is vital recreational space, offering families and children the opportunity to play, to breathe, and to connect with nature. Cemeteries, as necessary as they are, cannot replace that social fabric. They are not community gathering spaces. We know too the emotional toll that the uncertainty has taken on you all. Residents report distress, anxiety, and sleeplessness. For some of the elderly, the thought of living beside a cemetery has caused such distress that they are considering relocating, uprooting themselves from their homes and communities that they have known for decades. The mental health impacts cannot be ignored, and this extends to the families of young children, and the fears they have are significant. And I very much understand this. As the daughter of a funeral director, I absolutely understand the stigma that comes, unfortunately, with living close to cemeteries and to being involved in that industry. It's not what you want for your children. I, more than most, truly appreciate that, and the government has an obligation to respect your views. There are significant environmental and public health concerns which are well documented, but I think fundamentally, what this comes down to, and this petition brings it here to this place, is that the government needs to do better in terms of listening to you. I call on the government to do exactly that. You have made your position clear. You value your open spaces, your community hubs, and this is a slap in the face, and we understand that. And we urge the government to listen to you and act on this petition because you have spoken.
I thank the member. The question is that House take note of the petition. I do call the member for South Coast.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I rise to contribute to this debate led by the member for Auburn, Lynda Voltz, regarding the future of the Carnarvon Golf Course in Sydney. I also want to acknowledge those of you here in the chamber today and the wider community who have raised their concerns at the prospect of losing their beloved course, because the residents of Jervis Bay on the south coast have recently been through the same thing. When a proposal for a seniors development on the Vincentia Golf Course first emerged, the community was devastated. For decades, the course has been more than just a sporting facility. It's been a place where people come together, where friendships are made, and where the natural beauty of Jervis Bay provides a backdrop to community life. The thought of losing that open space was heartbreaking. However, thanks to the leadership and vision of the St George's Basin Country Club Board, led by President Bob Proudfoot, the story of Vincentia has taken a different turn. The board listened to the community. They understood the importance of community and the need to help the youth of the area, and they have taken the bold step of beginning the process to de-amalgamate and are paving the way for a new community entity to operate the Vincentia Golf Club independently. This decision ensures that the course will not be lost to development. The new vision for Vincentia Golf Club includes becoming a training centre for disadvantaged youth across the Bay and Basin area. The board of the country club understood that this lasting legacy will provide opportunities for skill development, mentoring and community engagement. It will be a place where young people can learn, grow and feel part of something positive. I want to place on the record my gratitude to President Bob Proudfoot and the entire St George's Basin Country Club Board for their courage, their compassion and their commitment to community. Thanks to them, Vincentia Golf Club will remain not just a course, but a community hub, a place of belonging, purpose and pride for the people of the South Coast. I don't envy the position of the Minister at all. He needs to deal with the reality that after decades of inaction, Sydney is running out of burial space, and with some face groups running out of space in as little as 2 years. In relation to Carnarvon Golf Course, I understand that a decision has not been made yet, as the government is currently awaiting Metropolitan Memorial Parks to review the submissions from the consultation process and present the feedback along with its final report to government on the proposal. It should also be noted that MMP's proposal does not include the adjacent sports field at Coleman Park, which will remain an accessible public space for the whole community. If Carnarvon Golf Course is developed into a memorial park, MMP have earmarked that their proposal would include large areas of open and green space to be enjoyed by the community. I commend the member for Auburn for bringing attention to Carnarvon Golf Course, and I understand the community's concerns, and I also commend her for standing up for communities who value their green spaces.
I thank the member. The question is the House take note of the petition. I call the member for Miranda.
I literally have no clue what I just listened to, but it had nothing to do with Carnarvon. I stand today as the Shadow Minister for Sport for the opposition to talk about Carnarvon Golf Course. Maybe that's something that escapes the member for South Coast, but I really do want to commend the member for Auburn for bringing this petition to the chamber and acknowledge the completely full gallery of people sitting here today to listen to the importance of this golf course and this issue to each and every one of them. Because the reality is that each and every one of you in this place are staring down the barrel of the Minns Labor government taking yet another golf course from a community. And it's a facility that you all want to use. That's why the people are here. They're not here to listen to Vincentia Golf Course and the very shallow government talking points that came after that, which frankly are an insult to the people sitting in the gallery. They are here because the member for Coleman has been drumming up a campaign and has been campaigning against her own government because this issue is so important to her community. And rightly so, because as I've said, this is now the second golf course that is under attack from the Minns Labor government. We've seen what they're doing at Moore Park. There is no amount of objection that is stopping the Minns Labor government from steaming ahead on Moore Park. And let me tell you, today in the other place, in the Legislative Council, the government again has refused to table the business case for Moore Park because, frankly, they're not actually providing a good business case for why these golf courses are being taken up. They're just picking and choosing willy-nilly. They're not caring about the facts, and they're now deliberately obstructing the access to that information. That's the first golf course. Now they're after yours. Now they're after Carnarvon. Now, the reality is it's very hard to actually get the amount of signatures that have been provided here by the member for Auburn for all of these people to be in the chamber and for us to be having this debate. And I really do hope that any subsequent speakers from the government side actually do respect their colleague and the people in this chamber actually focus on the importance of Carnarvon, because the reality is the process is flawed. There has not been multicultural content. There's been no regard for the need for green space or the needs of this particular community. And we shouldn't be glossing over it in this place. What all members of this chamber should be seeking is for access to that information, because today it's the member for Auburn, but tomorrow it could be any one of the other members in this place who are staring down the barrel of losing green space in their communities because the Minns Labor government wants to take it up for burial space. Now, I'm not going to dispute that burial space is important for Sydney. We all need access to cemeteries. But why this golf course? And why golf again? The member for Auburn has already outlined numerous other locations that are empty in her electorate that are near Rookwood Cemetery. Why Carnarvon? Why Carnarvon? The consultation has been flawed. There is actually no reason why this site has even been identified. And in fact, when the Upper House requested documentation on the 1,000 sites that were canvassed, there was no list, no document, and no map produced to determine why this was the site amongst the thousands. The process isn't open, it's not transparent, it's not credible, and I don't think we should be glossing over it in this chamber today. Now, I mentioned earlier that there was no multicultural communication to the community, and I think it would be remiss of us in this place to not acknowledge how multiculturally diverse the Auburn community is. It's actually one of the most culturally and linguistically diverse communities represented in this chamber, with over 80% speaking a language other than English at home. And that's something which I personally am really sympathetic to, because my own family speaks Greek. That's how I communicate with my grandparents. My family was born overseas and migrated here, and I know that if any government is serious about communicating with the people that it represents, it needs to ensure that it communicates with those people in a manner that they understand. And that's something that I would hope that the minister, who has not only multicultural as their portfolio of responsibilities, but also sport, would be sympathetic to. There are so many things that I could say. There are more than 12,000 residents who have shown an interest in this, and I commend the member for Auburn for bringing it to this place today. I know you will have an opportunity to hopefully hear from the minister later today, but to the members in the gallery, I say, keep up the fight. We will keep asking for answers from this government, because we know that golf across this state is being sorely let down by the members opposite and this government.
I do thank the member. The question is the House take note of the petition. I call the member for Mount Druitt.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I too rise to contribute to this petition debate led by the member for Auburn, Lynda Voltz. Increasing the supply of burial space in Sydney is a critical priority for this government. The shortage of cemetery space is not a new problem. It's an issue that has been known for more than 20 years. Yet for too long, it has been met with indecision and inaction. The time for delay is over. This government is determined to address the challenge head-on and ensure that the needs of all our communities are met now and into the future. Almost every one of us at some point in our lives will visit a cemetery or crematorium to farewell a loved one, to mourn, to remember, or to reflect. And one day, we will each rely on these essential services ourselves. For many faith groups, burial is not just a preference, it's the only option. It is a sacred requirement deeply embedded in religious beliefs and cultural practice. That's why ensuring ongoing access to burial space is not only a logistical issue, but also a moral and social responsibility. New South Wales is one of the most culturally and spiritually diverse places in the world. We are home to people who practice 46 religions and speak more than 200 languages. In such a diverse society, we must ensure that burial space is available and accessible to all faith and cultural traditions. It's about respect, dignity, and inclusion. Speaker, this government has taken tangible steps to improve the supply of burial space in Sydney. Crown cemetery operators are critical partners in this effort, and we're working closely with them to unlock additional supply within and around existing Crown cemeteries. One of these operators, Metropolitan Memorial Parks, known as MMP, manages 8 memorial parks across Sydney and Newcastle. Based on the 24-25 activity data collected by Cemeteries and Crematoria New South Wales, MMP provides almost half of all the burials in metropolitan Sydney. That gives a sense of just how vital their role is in meeting community needs. MMP has been systematically reviewing its existing sites to maximise burial capacity while also exploring options to new locations. The process that led MMP to identify Carnarvon Golf Course as a potential new memorial park site has been rigorous and thorough. In fact, their assessment considered over 1,000 potential sites within areas of high demand. Location was a key factor in this process. For many faith groups, mourning and remembrance are not confined to the days immediately after a burial. They can extend for months or even years, with frequent visits to the resting place of loved ones. That means accessibility is essential. Carnarvon Golf Course, located near Rockwood Cemetery, has been identified by MMP as its preferred site for a modern memorial park in central Sydney. The adjacent sports field at Coleman Park is not part of MMP's proposal. The site-sized typology, planning consideration, environmental characteristics all contributed to its identification as a viable location. The assessment process was led by a multidisciplinary team of internal and external experts over several months. MMP has since completed an extensive 8-week consultation process, which closed on the 19th of October 25. This process sought to capture community views through an online survey available in English and key community languages, along with drop-in sessions, webinars, targeted briefings, and a broad public awareness campaign. Importantly, the consultation included a wide range of stakeholders, from residents and the golfing community to faith and cultural groups most affected burial space shortages in Sydney. MMP is now reviewing all submissions received during this process, and this government will continue to work closely with the operators, local communities and faith groups to ensure that our approach is respectful, sustainable and inclusive. And Speaker, no decision has yet been made in this matter.
I thank the member. For the gallery again, there's a reason we become very good at nodding our heads and shaking our heads. I need you to stay silent, please. It's very important that as a gallery you don't become participants in the debate in the chamber. The question is, the House take note of the petition. I do call the Minister in response.
Well, thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Lynda Voltz member for Auburn for presenting the petition today. I would also like to acknowledge the passionate community members attending today. For far too long, planning for cemeteries and burial space has been neglected. Successive government reports found that the public cemeteries across Sydney were running out of burial space. For one of our Crown Cemetery operators, Metropolitan Memorial Parks, 6 out of its 8 cemeteries will exhaust their burial supply by about 2031 and be completely full a decade after that. It's chronic. For some specific burial-dependent faith groups and communities, dedicated burial supply will be exhausted within the next 2 years. Identifying suitable land for cemeteries in Sydney is a complex process, Mr Speaker. It involves assessing a range of site-specific factors to determine if land is suitable. That's why we directed Metropolitan Memorial Parks, or MMP, as a Crown land manager and cemetery operator to identify options to increase burial space in Sydney. Now, following an extensive evaluation process, MMP identified Carnarvon Golf Course as a preferred site. And I want to once again clarify, Coleman Park has never and will never be part of any proposal. I would also like to thank MMP for their work undertaking community consultation over the past 2 months. I would also like to thank them for amending the consultation at the request of the member for Auburn and the local community. After feedback from the local member and community, they made printed documents available in Korean to go along with the website, which was available in 284 languages. The member for Auburn also raised concerns that some people were unable to attend in-person drop-in sessions or lacked the capability to access the online version. As such, MMP undertook phone surveys in the local area to ensure everyone could have a chance to respond. These phone surveys were also available in language. MMP will collate all feedback gathered throughout the community consultation and present their findings along with its final report to government on the proposal. All feedback will be considered. And at this stage, no decision has been reached, and the term of the lease to Carnarvon Golf Course runs to 2035. I once again thank the member for Auburn for her passionate advocacy on behalf of her community, and thank for the community members that came in today. Thank you.
I thank the Minister. I now call the member for Auburn to speak in reply in this debate.
Thank you. I'll try and be quick. Thank you to the member for Cootamundra, South Coast, Miranda, Mount Druitt, and the Minister for attending and participating in this debate. I'm not sure why the Minister thinks that I asked for MMP to cold call people, not in my electorate, but in places like Lakemba and Padstow, because I never asked for that. What we asked for was printed material in language going into people's letterboxes, which never occurred. The response I got was people could QR code that, and they would then somehow find the multilingual language. It's just not good enough, quite frankly, in an electorate such as mine. Also, in terms of extensive undertaking of research, well, I'm not here to say what the previous government did, but what they did do was on the Londonderry transmission station, actually an environmental impact statement and another document when the Commonwealth Government offered that up as cemetery space, which identified and did extensive earthworks and undertakings into whether that land was suitable. Now, we have an order for papers from the other place. Not one document has been produced, a map or anything that says what this extensive process that MMP has undertaken. The reality is it is not a consultation process. If one side is put forward to the community and they then come and tell you, well, we're going to have stakeholder consultation with you now. How is that stakeholder consultation? Right? You've put one side on. And let's be clear, Denise Laura, the CEO of MMP, originally walked into a room with myself and the Mayor and 20 staff members and said that Coleman Park was on the original, it was part of the plans. Now, they've probably worked out they don't own the site since then, that it's actually owned by council. And if they'd done some extensive research, they would have known that. But the reality, this has been a flawed process, and I congratulate my community for taking a stand. Yeah.
It's like this. The question is that the House take note of the petition. All of that opinion say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. I thank the gallery.